Welcome to Stu Studio, conservative takes on music. My name is Stuart Simpson. I am a musician, a songwriter, an audio engineer, and I've worked in the music and entertainment industries in Denver and Nashville for a number of years. And for my first episode, I thought I would just do a top 5 albums list of 2025. 2025 was obviously a big year in music with a bunch of pop releases, lots of metal releases, and even some punk releases that I got really into. And maybe a year not so great for some bands like Megadeth, but we're not going to talk about that. My top 5 album list of 2025 is albums that I just come back to and listen to over and over again. They're probably not the best albums of 2025, but they're the ones that I got really into. So number 5 is The Life of a Showgirl by Taylor Swift. I think everybody has their own opinions on this album. It's formed by now. You've listened to it multiple times. I don't think really anything else can be said about it. I put it at number 5. I think it's a big improvement on the Tortured Poets department. I think it feels like one full, complete album. I think all the songs kind of have their own unique place and have their own unique feel and feel like their own individual works to make one complete, diverse album. Not really like the Tortured Poets department, which kind of felt like it was way too much. It was 2 albums, and one album was just one 45-minute song that was completely unnecessary. So I think The Life of a Showgirl is a big step up from that. My favorite tracks on this album are Elizabeth Taylor, which brings me back to Reputation era, and anything that sounds like Reputation era, I'm kind of going to get really into because that's when I discovered Taylor Swift or really started enjoying her and appreciating her work. So that's got a soft spot for me. Then I like the song Honey, which is really just like a feel-good melody, and something I noticed about it is the hi-hat really drives the song. Like whether the hi-hat's in there or not is kind of what creates the dynamics in the song. And then the last track that I want to mention is Actually Romantic. I think I really just like how it feels like Taylor Swift did a Weezer song. I know it's like a whole diss track on Charlie XCX or whatever they're talking about, but I think it just feels like Weezer is her backing band on this one, and I love that. Number 4 is Until We're Dead EP by Blades. It's Blades spelt with a V. I know most people probably haven't heard this one. I discovered it on accident just shuffling new music on my phone, but it's really made me appreciate easycore again. I think that Captain Chunk kind of ruined easycore for me because they just did such a bad job at it. Made me completely forget about like early 4 Year Strong and bands like that. But these guys really bring it back with a more modern pop punk, easycore, garage punk even kind of influence on it. And even some modern production, like some glitchy synthy stuff and hip hop influence like MGK was doing. And I think that's the future of pop punk is going to be really polished, really modern, really hip hop influenced production on it. My favorite songs on this album, it's pretty much every song but the last one, but especially Until We're Dead is my favorite by far. That's how I found this one out. And I think it really just sounds like peak Seaway. Like even the singer sounds like the singer from Seaway, which is going to strike a chord with me every time. But then the song Quit Me like starts off like kind of as a joke, then it hits pretty heavy and then just goes right into some really fun, bouncy, easy core. Love that about it. And even the first 2 songs that kind of go together, build up into breakdown. It's great opener and great easy core song. It all makes for a really fun album, except the last song, Distant Dreamer. Kind of just sounds like he's trying to write a panty dropper. Didn't work. Trying to show off his voice. Great voice. The song doesn't work for it. Seems kind of just like a cheap acoustic song to get the girls. Not into it. Not for me. Might be for you though. Number 3 is Mortal Reminder 2 by Mortal Reminder. This album really surprised me. It's just driving gent, like beat down metalcore, hardcore with some hip hop influence behind it. The entire album. It's practically nonstop except for a couple interlude songs. The interlude songs are actually worth listening to on this one. Don't skip them. But otherwise, it's just nonstop beatdown. It's got some crowd calls, right? Like opening songs. The lyrical content is very just tough guy driven. I love it. But my favorite songs are What a Shame. It's how I found out about the album through some reel on some social media. And it just does not stop. It's endlessly heavy gent. It has heavy drops and some gutturals in it. It's one of the heavier songs that I've been into this year. And the song The Deadly Seven is the beatdown song on a beatdown album. It is tough. It hits hard. I love it. The bending guitar parts throughout the entire song just go into some crazy hits. Love it. Then lastly, the song Forbidden. I don't usually like 12/8 songs. I think that they bounce around too much and it's hard to make it sound complex and fun. But they have a feature with Low File, which I believe is the former keyboard player for Issues. And I think he really just brings some more pop production into this song. and it makes it stand out a little bit from the rest of the album, even though it's in 12/8. My number 2 album of 2025 is Eternal Youth by The Starting Line. Always loved The Starting Line ever since their first album when I first saw them on YouTube. And this album is almost shoegaze, but I don't think anyone would actually call it shoegaze. I think it's a great evolution for pop punk. As opposed to the super polished production, I think that this one kind of buries the vocals and it's really guitar driven and really distorted. And it's kind of my ideal future for pop punk. I think we owe a little bit of credit to Taylor Swift for this album because of her mention of The Starting Line on her song The Black Dog. And I'm wondering how many little girls were listening to Taylor Swift and heard her mention another band that they'd never heard of, and then dug deep into the YouTube archives, into the Spotify, and found out about The Starting Line, the tell me what you thought about, and just lost their minds. And so I think that they went into this album with a bigger budget, more recognition, maybe a little more freedom, maybe a little more pressure to write something for the masses, but I think that they nailed it. My favorite songs on this album are Circulate. That's the first song that I heard. I didn't even know that The Starting Line was releasing new music until that song came on my shuffle. And that song really set the tone for what their new direction was going to be in my mind. It's really, really guitar driven. Love that about it. And you can tell that the singer is the bassist because he wanted to keep the bass part complicated and interesting throughout the entire song, start to finish. And then the drums just come in on the toms. And the quarter note kick really drives the entire song all the way to the end, except for some hits in the bridge, but it really keeps the pulse going. And the song I See How It Is the album opener. I think it's a great glimpse into what the whole album is going to sound like. It sets the tone for how they're going to use the guitars to drive it. The vocals are a little bit buried, the drums are really energetic, and it just shows you how pretty much the entire album is built around the guitar parts. The next song I want to mention is Curveball. It isn't super exciting, but what I really love about it is it just reminds me so much of Person L, which is the singer of The Starting Line side project. I don't know how many people actually ever listened to Personnel. I've tried to find their merch and I absolutely cannot, but it's the simple guitar riff and the vocals being built around that throughout the song that really reminds me of Personnel and makes me love it. And the last song I want to mention is called Enjoyment, and it starts off like kind of mellow, but still with a little bit of force, and then it really drops into a powerful song. Before I talk about my number 1 album of 2025, I wanted to talk about some honorable mentions of the year. The first being Circling From Above by Styx. I just think that it's mind-blowing that Styx is still making music. I remember listening to them with my mom when I was really young, as her favorite band back then. They don't have Dennis DeYoung singing, but it still feels like original Styx, and I just can't believe they're making music, honestly. Next honorable mention is Attitude Adjustment by Headwreck. These are some anime nerds making metalcore, and I think the anime nerds and metalcore are completely inseparable, so it's just a lot of fun. It's got some joke opening tracks, like some 8-bit stuff. Check it out. Then there is Feels Like Hell by Weekend Friends. I found out about Weekend Friends again on a new music shuffle a long time ago with their song Awkward. And this album really feels like they're carrying that same energy and that same style, just a little bit more mature. They have a Buckethead feature on their song called, and I don't think anyone would have seen a Buckethead feature on a Midwest emo indie band album, but it really fits and it's so much fun. Next is Bambi by Anxious. And this is super weird, but I first heard their song Bambi's Theme on a Taco Bell commercial and never heard that band, never heard that song. And it took me like a week to find that commercial again so I could record it and Shazam it and find out what that song was. But I can't believe I've never heard of this band before or heard this album before. It's Bambi by Anxious, and Bambi's Theme is by far my favorite song. They're very dynamic while they're still distorted throughout the whole thing, and they're everything that I think that indie pop punk should be. My last honorable mention is Private Music by Deftones. I know so many people love Deftones. I don't get it. I've tried listening to them from start to finish, starting with White Pony. I've tried listening to them backwards, starting with Private Music, and it just doesn't speak to me. I know that Deftones are post-hardcore, but it's just not for me. Although you're welcome to try and change my mind. My number 1 album of 2025 is Never Enough by Turnstile. I think that they blow Deftones out of the water with their new take on post-hardcore. The way that they blend atmospheric elements into driving heavy guitar parts. Every song is like 30 seconds shorter than it should be, which kind of makes you want to go back and listen to the whole thing again. but the next song rolls and you just don't want to stop. The lyrical content is pretty pessimistic. It's kind of like I'm a bad person, but so are you. And it's a little bit offset with some of the fun melodies, like Seeing Stars feels like a great song, but then you actually read the lyrics. My favorite songs on the album are Sun Shower. It's just a nonstop driving punk song without being too overbearing. And the super fun rhythms throughout the song, like the pauses for the rain shouts, and it's a great middle of the album song. Next song is Birds. I think this is obviously the most popular song on the album, but what I love is how it's broken into 3 parts and they're all completely distinct from each other. Like it opens with some dirty synth with some percussion parts leading into like another thrash punk part. And the whole song really exists for that final section, just guitar driven, the dirty vocals. Next song is Slow Dive. Slow Dive reminds me of older Turnstile, a heavy song based on a guitar riff, and still some really melodic vocals. I think probably the cleanest vocals on the album. And last song would be Seeing Stars. I think everybody loves how it just grooves the entire time, start to finish. But my favorite thing about this album is kids are gonna discover Turnstile, and then they're gonna find out that the singer played drums for Trapped Under Ice or something. So they're gonna see him playing in an underpass in the middle of Denver and start looking into the other bands they're associated with, discover Trapped Under Ice and some East Coast hardcore, and just be introduced to a whole new world of classic hardcore, showing that the scene is ever expanding, but it's always tight. Well, those are my top 5 albums of 2025. Please let me know your favorite albums of 2025. And maybe tell me I'm wrong. I'll listen. But thank you for listening to episode 1 of Stu Studio. And remember, Jesus loves you.